Hi guys, it's Catherine and welcome back to my channel. So I just uploaded in the past week part 1 of me reading the Shatter Me series for the very first time in my entire life. So this is going to be part 2 to that video. This is going to be me finishing that series because ever since I started it, I have not been able to think about anything else. It's consumed my entire existence. That video was actually filmed several weeks ago, probably like 3 to 4 weeks, and I thought I was going to be taking a longer break and eventually coming back to finish it, but tell me why I've been in the biggest slump of my entire life since then. Haven't been able to read anything else because all I've been thinking about is wanting to finish this series. So lucky for you, you're getting back-to-back videos of me actually cohesively reading through the series, which is kind of exciting. I still also don't have the little side novellas that you're supposed to be reading in between the series because number one, they're very tiny. Like, look at the size of one of these books. It's probably a quarter of one book. So one, they're very small, and two, they're very expensive. So I haven't been able to buy them just because they're so expensive, and there's quite a few of them. And so I think what I'm gonna end up doing is at least filming this video and finishing the series, and then I'll film a separate video once I have all of them of like how reading those has changed my perspective on the series. So you're gonna get a little bit of a Throne of Glass situation here where we had all the books come out and then we had Assassin's Blade. That's gonna be like my Assassin's Blade video kind of. So that's the plan currently. In the last vlog we left off on me finishing Ignite Me. At the end of Ignite Me, also this whole video is gonna have spoilers, so if you haven't read this and don't want spoilers, don't watch. Sorry about that. But in the last book that I left off on, Juliet ends up killing the Supreme Commander, Warner's dad. That's how the book ends, and they've basically defeated and overthrown the reestablishment. Now I'm moving on to Restore Me. My predictions kind of like moving forward in the series is that we're gonna see a lot more like shift in the society, obviously, because now the reestablishment is overthrown. I think we're gonna see a lot more like character growth and development in Juliet's character specifically, because I think all this time we've had her like build up her confidence and have like this like almost false sense of delusion that she is the person who's gonna lead this new society, but I don't think that she actually understands what that means. So I think the rest of the series is going to be her starting to step into her power and figure out how to like govern and put together this new society, building it up from scratch. Hopefully we'll also see a lot more growth in the relationship between Juliet and Warner, because I think we've only just scratched the surface of that, and I think Warner's going to be an instrumental part of helping Juliet kind of get through this new phase in her life. I think we'll also see a lot more found family because that has been something that's been building up. I am also like in the corner of my mind convinced that someone is going to die in this series, because I feel like inevitably in these early fantasy series someone has always died. Hunger Games, Finnick, Divergent, I don't remember who died, but I know, oh well, the main character died, Triss. All these like early fantasy series always had a sacrificial lamb, so I'm just like waiting and mentally preparing myself. Can't say I'm actually mentally prepared, because if it's Kenji, I will actually cry. He is my favorite character of all time. Kenji and Adam's little brother. I have a feeling it's gonna be the little brother though, because I think like in a plot sense of the series it just kind of makes sense. Also though, I'm not mentally prepared for the image of seeing like Adam lose his only family member and also lose Juliet and just like go off and live in a corner of the world by himself. But I'm not prepared for that because I actually really wanted to see everyone like be happy. I know that sounds really unrealistic though, so I'm trying to like get into the realistic part of my mind. Let me just not hypothesize prematurely about character deaths though until I actually have to do that. Anyways, that is my prediction for the next few books, that I'm gonna go ahead and start Restore Me and then I'll check in. I honestly don't know what I expected when I started this, but I didn't expect it to start with Kenji giving Warner a haircut and now Warner pressing a freaking gun to his head because he hates the haircut. I honestly think one of the biggest green flags in Book Talk Boyfriends is when the guy like makes an active effort to try to be friends with the girl's friends, and Juliet's like, well, you've tried like really hard to be nice to my friends, and he says, yes, well, I don't want to be nicer to people, it doesn't suit me. Pretty real for that. This is so funny. He says, I'll have to shave my head, you know, and pulls away. I blink and he's still not kissing me. And it is my very sincere hope, he says, that you will still love me when I return. So right now Juliet's talking about how quiet it's been basically, And I guess there are other like supreme commanders around the world that could have risen up to challenge her, but they haven't so far, so it's making her nervous. Now they're organizing a conference for all the international leaders, so there's like 5 supreme commanders, I think, of like the other continents. And the first one just responded yes. So they're gonna like get together, I guess, and figure out how to organize the world. And then I'm also super excited because I didn't know this was happening, but now we're getting Warner's perspective. So I feel like we're gonna get a lot more character development of Warner now too, because it says his mother's dead, his father's dead, I wonder who I am in their absence. So I think it's gonna be like about him exploring that side of himself, because he's always just like obeyed commands from his dad and done whatever has been asked of him. And now for the first time, like no one is telling him what to do. Oh, so I guess we are getting tension with Juliet because she asked him if he's mad that she shot his father, and she's like, you know, it's okay to mourn his loss even if he was terrible, you know? And he basically won't talk to her about it, so it feels like he's isolating himself and trying to like grieve his dad, but also like not, I don't know, he's like in a very weird place right now of like half grieving him, but then he also says that he hated him, so I think he's trying to like reconcile with that fact. Not Juliet bringing Warner a cookie, and it says he glanced up at me, glanced back at his work, whispered a quiet thank you, and ate the cookie with a knife and fork. What? I don't know why that's the most hilarious thing I've ever read, but also just like shows how sheltered he was, that he's freaking eating a cookie with a knife and fork like a freaking pizza. I do kind of feel bad for Adam because he's just like moping around the cafeteria, and I think he wants to like get to know Warner because obviously they're brothers, and he's like looking around and asking Juliet like, oh, why doesn't he ever eat here? And she's just like, well, he doesn't have time, like he works all day. And he kind of like looks disappointed and just ends up going back to his other little brother. But I feel kind of bad because I'm like, I don't feel like he has anyone in his corner right now, and I think they would like relate to each other if they just like talked a little bit more. So Castle just had a conversation with Juliet because she got one of the RSVPs from one of the Supreme Commanders from the continent Oceania. And Castle pointed out to her how it was a very weird RSVP because it said, can't wait to see you, when like supposedly she's never met anyone and been off the continent. So it should have said like, can't wait to meet you. So it might be someone that Juliet's already met from the past. But Castle's basically like, well, how much has Warner told you about the reestablishment? So now basically calling into question the fact that Warner might be hiding stuff from her because he hasn't really like gave her, you know, all the background information. And so Kenji and Juliet are currently talking about that. And then Kenji, being the voice of reason that he usually is, says, yeah, he's kind of right. Like, you don't know much about Warner. You don't even know his mom's name. And she's like trying to remember, and she realizes that he never even told her his mom's name. So I think it's finally catching up to Juliet just like how in over her head she is, because she says, it's been over 2 weeks and I still feel lost, half paralyzed. I'm not proud of my inability to get it together, not proud of the revelation that as it turns out I'm not smart enough, fast enough, or shrewd enough to rule the world. I'm not proud that at my lowest moments I look around at all I have to do in a single day and wonder in awe at how organized Anderson was, how accomplished, how very, very talented. I feel like this book has become very political. Like Kenji and Juliet are talking about how they have to be so careful about their next moves because everything is so fragile right now. And she says, I'm only now beginning to understand the breadth of this delicate, intricately developed spiderweb of people, positions, and power already in place. I said I was up for the task, and now I have to keep it up, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So now Adam and Warner are finally talking about their dad, and Warner's reflecting on how Adam has become such a like better guy than him, despite how like their upbringing was similar. I feel like this is funny, but it's not funny. It says, Warner hears Kent sniff twice, 2 sharp attempts at keeping his emotions in check, and even so I envy him, his ability to be this open with his feelings. I pull a handkerchief from the inside pocket of my jacket and hand it to him. Thanks, he says tightly, another nod. I feel like this is like the equivalent of them coming to like a truce, kind of. Oh, maybe there's like hope for Adam yet. I feel like he's maybe having his redemption arc, because he's saying how he just like mishandled everything with Juliet, and he says, I was an asshole. I took everything out on her, blamed her for everything, walking away from what I thought was one of the few sure things in my life. It's my own fault, really, my own baggage. I've still got a lot of shit to work out. So I feel like at least he's like acknowledging that he was in the wrong. Oh, I don't like this sentence at all. He says that, yeah, everything with Juliet went down, but now it's just my family that's my priority. And I just feel like this goes back to my prediction that James is gonna end up dying and he's gonna have no one. And I'm so scared for that. I'm so scared. Now I actually feel bad because I'm like, he should at least keep his family, you know? This makes me so sad for Kenji and relate to him even more. He just talked about how like he met his parents but something happened to him, and it must be so bad because he's not even telling Juliet what happened. And I guess he lived in an orphanage and he escaped, and like that's how Castle found him and everything. But that makes me feel for him so much more than I already have. I'm actually about to cry. Kenji's like telling Juliet his entire story and it's so sad. And he's talking about how like he's Japanese. And so but people back then before the reestablishment took place were like openly becoming racist, and there was so much violence going on basically, and all these civilians had guns, and so his dad bought a gun out of protection purposes. But then Kenji says that one day he got like a little too brave, I guess, and ended up getting his gun turned against him, and that's how he died. Why is that the saddest thing in the whole world? I feel for him so much right now. And Kenji had to watch the whole thing go down. Ugh. I'd actually forgotten how fucked up Warner's upbringing was. He says, "My father taught me to shoot a gun when I was 9 years old. When I was 10, he sliced open the back of my leg and showed me how to suture my own wounds. At 11, he broke my arm and abandoned me in the wild for 2 weeks. At age 12, I was taught to build and defuse my own bombs. He began teaching me how to fly planes when I was 13. He never did teach me how to ride a bike. I figured that out on my own." Castle's having like a complete breakdown right now at Warner because he's like, okay, Juliet's about to go meet with this son of a commander. You need to go and explain everything to her. And Warner's like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? Like, what do you mean? Now Castle, I guess, reveals that there is more to Juliet that I guess his dad knew. And he's like, oh, your dad never told you, did he? He never said where she really came from. He never told you the truth about her parents. So I have a feeling her parents are still alive, maybe. I don't know, but I think there's like some kind of twist with her family. I feel like there's still people that she's like related to that are alive somehow. Aaron and Juliet are finally talking and being a little honest with each other. She's like confessing how she has no idea what she's doing basically. And he says, the world tried to crush you and you refused to be shattered. You've recovered from every setback a stronger person, rising from the ashes only to astonish everyone around you. And you will continue to surprise and confuse those who underestimate you. It is an inevitability. Can't say that word. It is an inevitability, a foregone conclusion. Like, I love that he just has so much faith in her. He's like, yeah, you don't have experience in this, but I'm gonna help you and you're gonna be like the most successful person. I love that about him. I love how he's like never questioned her once in this entire series. Oh, this part is so sweet. He says, those who do not understand you will always doubt you. She leans back just an inch, looks up. And I say, I have never doubted you. Never? I shake my head. Not once. She looks away, wipes her eyes. I press a kiss against her cheek, taste the salt of her tears. Oh, they're so sweet together. I think Kenji has a little crush because they had dinner with one of the sons of the commanders. And it was Juliet, Warner, Kenji, and then the son on the other side, but also his sister. And so now Kenji's like hitting on the sister. It's a little bit of an enemies situation because she kind of hates him and he like accidentally insulted her, and now he's like trying to overcompensate, and she's just like, how are you so bad at like flirting with me right now? Kenji's banter is just like top tier. He says, I mean, I know she's probably a sociopath and like would definitely murder me in my sleep, but damn, she's wow, he says. She's like batshit pretty, the kind of pretty that makes a man think getting murdered in his sleep might not be a bad way to go. I feel like this entire video is just gonna be me falling more and more in love with Warner. I just love how considerate he is. Like, he has all this shit going on, but he still cares about Juliet. And he says, I've been so absorbed in my own head, in my own issues, that I haven't had much of a chance to speak with her at length about how she's doing lately. Yesterday was the first time she ever brought up her worries about being a good leader, and it makes me wonder how long these fears have been wearing away at her, how long she's been bottling everything up. We have to find more time to talk this all through, but I worry we might both be drowning in revelations. Like, I love that he's just so self-aware of everything that's going on around him, and I think it makes him like really good at communication, even though like they're not talking as much as they should, but at least he's like very aware and perceptive of that. Oh, not Juliet being like possessive over Aaron. The son of the commander touches like Aaron's arm or something, and he's like, hey, you need to listen to me. And Juliet's like, touch him one more time and I will rip your heart out of your body. And the son goes, excuse me? She steps forward. She looks suddenly terrifying. There's a fire in her eyes, a murderous stillness in her movements. If I ever catch you putting your hands on him again, I will tear open your chest and rip out your heart. Hader's eyebrows fly up to his forehead. He blinks, hesitates, and then, I didn't realize that was something you could do. For you, she says, I do it with pleasure. Holy shit. So I don't know if I talked about the son and his sister, but his name is Hader, and then his sister's name is Nazira, I think. I feel like I'll be talking about them for a little bit. I actually love seeing Kenji being lovesick over Nazira because I kind of relate to him as a fellow hopeless romantic. And Nazira tells him, you're cute, really cute. You've got a great face. But this, she says, gesturing between them, is not happening. And all Kenji hears is, you think I've got a great face? She laughs and frowns at the same time, waves 2 fingers and says bye. And that's it, she walks away. Oh, so Juliet just like got shot in several places. I don't even know where she was. She was like in the middle of the desert for some reason. And Nazira killed the person who did it, and now she's saving her. I want to know why she was just like walking out in the middle of nowhere by herself. Like, why would she do that? She knows that she's a target. We love a concerned king. Aaron's like blaming himself for what happened to Juliet, and he's like, it's my fault for misunderstanding. It's my fault for thinking she was fine, that she didn't require more from me, more encouragement, more motivation, more guidance on a daily basis. The fact that she gets shot and he's like blaming himself for it. Okay, not Castle having like no faith in Juliet. He's talking to Aaron right now and he says, it should have been you. I always secretly hoped from the day you showed up to Omega Point that it would have been you, that you would join us and lead us. I'm starting to like severely dislike this guy because I feel like he just aligns with whoever he thinks is gonna win and should be in power. And it's so annoying. I feel like he's pretended to be on Juliet's side, but secretly he's just like on the side of whichever one is gonna be the winning side, which makes me think that maybe he's gonna betray them because I don't know. It's giving me the ick. Oh no. So Casso just confirmed that her parents are still alive and they're coming for her apparently. And I guess they faked like a death date on some documents, but they're actually still alive. And also Juliet has a sister. I guess there was a second child and her name is Emmeline that I guess we're gonna meet at some point. Castle just told Aaron that when he was 16, his dad gave him a job to kill someone, I guess. And it turns out that it was Emmeline, Juliet's sister. Oh my god. And Emmeline is still alive, and I guess both the sisters were part of an experiment. So they've been with the reestablishment for 12 years, and they were part of an experiment for genetic testing and manipulation. So I guess all of like this has been pre-planned in the past. I don't know if Aaron doesn't like remember or he just didn't know about any of this. But I'm also like, how does Casso know all of this? Like, how does he have all this information? It kind of makes me sus of him a little bit. Oh my god. Castle also read her journal. He's like asking Aaron, you've read about it, haven't you, in her journal? You've read where her mind has gone, how dark it's been. And he's like, how did you like know about this? Like, where did you read this? Where are you getting all this from? And I'm equally as confused as he is. And Castle's like, you need to tell her because she trusts you the most. And if she hears it from someone else first, then she's going to feel really betrayed. And basically all of us are going to lose her. And she still has all this anger in her heart and she's going to turn on all of them. What? I'm very confused. I feel like there's so much I'm missing right now. This whole conversation makes me like very suspicious of Castle and his intentions though, because why is he only telling Aaron this and not just sitting both of them down and making them like dish everything out and get it all out in the open so they can solve this prematurely? I feel like he's kind of like just placing doubt in both of their heads slowly. Like, he's going to Aaron telling him one thing, he's going to Juliet at times telling her something different. Like, I feel like there's a lot of doubt and just like trust issues being placed in their heads right now. So it makes me wonder if he's just like trying to put himself in a good position to where he can be like, oh, I told you so, or like make himself seem like he did the right thing in advance, kind of. I don't know. It makes me very, very suspicious of him, though. So Juliet just woke up from being shot, and she's like in the infirmary, I guess. And there's someone talking to her, but she can't see who it is. It's like a mysterious voice. And it says, "You should know that I'm not here to hurt you. I know, I say, though I don't understand why I've said it. But the people you trust are lying to you," the voice is saying. "And the other Supreme Commanders only want to kill you." She's also dreaming about birds again, which makes me think that maybe Adam is gonna resurface, because in book 1 she was dreaming about this like white bird, and Adam had the same dream and got this tattoo of a white bird on him, I think. And so now it seems like these dreams are resurfacing, and she's like dealing with a lot from her past. There was an excerpt in this book before of her journal from like when she was in the asylum, and so I feel like she's reliving a lot that she went through and now trying to like deal with it mentally. We just found out a big piece of information because Aaron's been going through his dad's like old files and trying to figure out like all this truth that's coming out about Juliet and where she comes from and all this like stuff about the world. So he's reading through the files and saying that the reestablishment, you know, back when they started to take over and everything, found out that people with like Juliet's abilities, and all these people with these abilities were called unnaturals. Juliet and her sister were the first unnaturals to be found, but then they kind of like started to discover all these others who had different abilities and stuff. And it's saying that the Supreme Commanders divided them up, and they each got one to help exert their power over their people, basically, and like push the reestablishment forward. And then there were other unnaturals that I guess were deemed like not useful, and so they were disposed of. We're finding out that Juliet and her sister's parents willingly gave them up to this experiment. Holy, so this is like such an information dump right now. So the reestablishment took Juliet when she was 5, put her in a facility. They injected her with a drug that would destroy parts of her memory, like really, really big parts of her memory. Turns out she didn't like initially show signs of having a special ability, so they erased her memory. She got sent to live under the father's supervision, the guy that they killed in the last book. And then she was put with adopted parents, basically to be raised as like a normal person because they thought that she was normal. And so for a time she had like a normal life, but then she started to show signs of having these powers, which initially the reestablishment didn't see in her. And so her adopted parents abused her and then eventually gave her back to the reestablishment. And then that's when Juliet and Aaron first met. Aaron just read an excerpt from his father's notes, and is basically realizing that the other commanders think that Juliet essentially has no power and she's just like a threat to the reestablishment. So the father wrote like a letter in his notes to the other commanders that she really needed to be eliminated. And so I think all of this is just like a ploy to get her trust, and they're just pretending in order to get close to her and get close enough to kill her. Aaron just finally spilled everything that he learned to Juliet because he was like, this is like too much for me to know, I have to tell her. And she just like ran away. So I don't know what's happening. She's supposed to speak at a symposium with all the other commanders tomorrow, and she's supposed to have like a whole speech. She's still also recovering from being shot. So I don't know how this is gonna go down, but it's not looking good. I don't think this part should be funny, but Kenji just found Aaron having a complete breakdown, panic attack, and he's like, hey, like, what's happening to you? Like, he doesn't, like, it doesn't process in his brain that Aaron could be having a panic attack, so he's just, like, genuinely confused by the whole thing. And then he tells Kenji that Juliet broke up with him, essentially by running out of the room. Oh my god. I really shouldn't be laughing at this, but I feel like Kenji's reactions. But Kenji just, like, notices that Aaron's not wearing a shirt. And then he's like, holy shit, what happened to your back? Because he has scars all over his back from his dad beating him when he was a kid. And he's like, oh, I look away, nearly irritated. Those are just, you know, birthday gifts from dear old dad. Birthday gifts from your dad? Kenji blinks fast, looks around, speaks to the air. What the hell kind of soap opera did I just walk into here? Why am I always getting involved in other people's personal shit? Why can't I just mind my own business? Why can't I just keep my mouth shut? Yeah, Kenji for once. I love that this is like the situation in which they're finally bonding. Why is Juliet like the most dramatic person on this planet? She like keeps running, keeps running. She runs to the middle of nowhere. I don't even know where she is right now. And she's like, my entire life has been a lie. And I'm just like, girl, like get your shit together. Like the world needs saving. You need to stand up and take over like you said you were. And now she's like falling apart. Love, love, love how Kenji is just everyone's therapist, including Aaron's, because they've been talking for 2 hours and Aaron just told him everything that happened. And he says, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of pain, bro. You can't keep living like this. This, he says, pointing at my face. This old you, this messed up dude who never talks and never smiles and never says anything nice and never allows anyone to really know him, you can't be this guy if you want to be in any kind of relationship. How the tables have turned in this book, because who would have thought that the person Aaron would open up to wouldn't be Juliet, but it would be freaking Kenji, of all people. Someone he has actively hated since the very beginning, and now he's just like spilling everything to him. Oh my god. Aaron? I guess Aaron has had prior relationships to Juliet, which like throughout this whole series, he's made it sound like she's been the one and only his entire life. Come to find out, one of the daughters of the other commanders just showed up and he's like, oh yeah, I was with her. And Kenji's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you have all this baggage that you haven't told Juliet about and you just don't even care. Oh, I feel like Juliet is just going back to spiraling, because I feel like throughout the series we used to get like less and less of things being crossed out, and now we're back to like entire pages of stuff being crossed out. So Nazira followed Juliet from like the moment she ran, and I guess she just like knew all this stuff about her. Apparently everyone knows about Juliet's past except for her, because her memories were erased. And Lena is the daughter of the Supreme Commander who just like showed up there, but she hasn't seen Juliet yet. And Nazira's like, oh, well, you probably don't need this extra drama about Lena. And Juliet's like, who's Lena? And then it says Nazira's eyes widen. Girl, what the hell? What? I say, scared now. Who is she? Who is she? Are you serious? She's Warner's ex-girlfriend. Okay, so we're getting to the peak of the book, I think, where things are going to start turning for the worse. Nazira and Juliet have been talking. Nazira basically knows everything. She also has powers. I think all the children of the Supreme Commanders have powers because they're the like unnaturals, quote unquote. And so Nazira's powers are that she can also turn invisible like Kenji, and she can also fly. And Nazira just told Juliet that the other commanders and the people in the reestablishment who are still alive are planning on destroying their sector and like everyone who lives there basically. So essentially the same scenario that happened in book 2 where everything, their whole like underground operation got blown up. So Aaron essentially just got bitch slapped by his ex-girlfriend from the other continent because she was like, 2 years and you left me a message with my mother telling her to let me know our relationship was over. So he didn't even like do it in person. He basically broke up with her through text, which is hilarious. Oh my god, Aaron's being such a savage. She's like trying to like kick him and fight him basically. And he whispers in her ear and says, Lena, I say again, even more softly. Really, you must know that your actions do nothing to endear you to me. So basically saying that he gives like no fucks about her whatsoever. Why is everything going to chaos right now? Juliet's like getting drunk and she just took the scissors and cut her hair off. And now she has the same haircut as Warder. Well, if it isn't the consequences of her own actions, Juliet wakes up and she has like a pounding headache because Kenji and Aaron came in and found her and put her to bed basically. And it's literally the day of the symposium. She's supposed to give this big speech today, and she's like drunk and hungover. I feel like Juliet's just completely lost her mind. And Aaron's like bearing his heart out to her and being like, I didn't even know like half of what I told you until like literally just recently. And she's just like, you should have kept these things from me. But like he didn't know that he shouldn't have kept all that from her because like half of it before didn't even apply to her. What just happened? Juliet just like started her speech at the symposium and she didn't like speak to anyone. Like no one really has spoken to each other. She spoke to Kenji. They're still cool and close now. But she starts speaking and giving her speech And she's like at the front on the podium, on the stage, I guess. And then there's like an audience of like 500 people. And then people start shooting at her. Someone shoots her in the forehead. She peels the bullet out of her forehead and throws it on the ground, which is crazy because I thought she wasn't immune to bullets. Now she is. And then it says, Juliet goes suddenly still and my mind slows down. I can feel it before it happens. I can feel the change, the static in the air. Heat ripples around her, tongues of power unfurling from her body like lightning preparing for a strike, and there's no time to do anything but hold my breath when suddenly she screams. Long, loud, violent. The world seems to blur for just a second. For just a moment, everything seizes, freezes into place. Contorted bodies, angry, distorted faces, all frozen in time. Floorboards peel upward and fissure apart, cracks like thunder claps as they shatter up the walls. Light fixtures swing precariously before smashing to the floor. And then everyone, every single person in her line of sight, 554 people and all their guests, their faces, their bodies, the seats they sit in, sliced open like fresh fish. Their flesh feathers outward, swelling slowly as a steady gush of blood gathers and pulls around their feet. They all drop dead. So she just killed 500 people? So everyone is dead. She just killed 600 people. Even her friends. Winston gets dragged away. This guy named Brendan that popped up in this book, he's dead. Lily, Ian, Aaliyah are all dead. And she's like trying to figure out what's happening. Aaron has his hands handcuffed behind his back. And then she hears a voice. And it says, "You've done beautiful work here, darling. You've really made us proud. The reestablishment is so grateful for the sacrifices you've made." "Who are you?" I say, searching for the voice. And then I see them, a man and a woman kneeling in front of me. And it's only then that I realize I'm lying on the ground, paralyzed. My arms and legs are bound by pulsing electric wires. I try to fight against them, and I can't. My powers have been extinguished. "Who are you?" I say again. "What do you want from me?" "I'm the Supreme Commander of Oceania," the woman says to me, smiling. "Your father and I have come to take you home?" Her parents are the Supreme Commanders. I actually have no words. That's how it ends. The next page is Warner's POV, but like, this is his POV. There's nothing. And the book is almost over. What is going on? It's just like one thing after the other. So her parents kidnapped her. Is that even something I can say? They didn't really kidnap her because that's their kid. She's in her bedroom, I think. She just woke up in like an all pink bedroom. I'm assuming it's hers. And then she finds a picture and it says, 3 little brown haired girls stand next to bikes that are slightly too big for them. They're all looking at each other, laughing at something. I flip the photo over. Ella, Emmeline, and Nazira. No more training wheels. So her real name is Ella, and she knew Nazira from before. Are they all sisters? Oh my god. This is not real. This is not real. So she's finding all these pictures of her past life, and it says another, this time a picture of a handsome couple, Paris and Leela, visiting for Christmas, and I freeze, stunned, feel the air leave my body. I'm holding only one photo now, and I have to force myself, beg myself to look at it, the square Polaroid shaking in my trembling hand. It's a picture of a little boy standing to a little girl. She's sitting in a stairwell. He looks at her, she eats a piece of cake. I flip it over. Aaron and Ella? Aaron and Ella? That's how this ends? No! Post me picking my book off the floor. Obviously I finished it. If you've read the series, then you know where I'm at, but I feel like I need to eat something because I'm like on the verge of passing out. And I'm also very overwhelmed and like emotionally stimulated right now. So I'll be back. Okay, I ate an orange, so hopefully that should hold me over until I can finish the second book. The second one is called Defy Me, and I'm not ready to start this. I'm actually scared. I feel like this could go anywhere, and like mentally I'm not prepared for it. I feel like the last one was so much damage. I feel like this book could go in any direction, and I don't know where it's gonna start, and I don't know where it's gonna go. And I'm so scared. Oh, this is new. We're gonna start to get Kenji's POV now. That's kind of cool. So we're getting a flashback right now to when Aaron and Ella / Juliet / I don't even know anymore. To when the main characters used to know each other from when they were young, and Ella finds Aaron with scars on his back for the first time, and they're like kids, and she's like threatening to tell someone. And Aaron says, no, don't tell anyone. Now Juliet's having a flashback of the first time she met Aaron and his dad, who she describes as her social worker for some reason. She's like crying because she's getting adopted. And Aaron's like, why is she crying? She's really scared. And then the boy asks, what's her name? And the dad says, this is Juliet, tragic, just like her namesake. So I think that's where her like fake name came from. So currently everyone's regrouping who's still alive. So we're watching everything from Kenji's perspective now. And so it's Kenji, Adam, Nazira, Castle, all of them. And Nazira's explaining Juliet's history. She's also saying that although all the children were trained to be soldiers, none of them really like being soldiers. And they know that their parents are really power hungry. And so I feel like this is starting to gear toward all the kids kind of coming together and overthrowing their parents, I'm assuming, but we'll see. Ew! Well, that is a sigh of relief because Juliet didn't just kill 600 people. Apparently this whole thing was staged to make her appear like she's a volatile, like insane person by the commanders. And Nazira is like explaining that she figured out what happened, that they were just like trying to make her seem crazy. And she remembers everything from her past because Nazira also had her memories erased. And everyone just realized that Warner and Juliet knew each other from childhood. And so we're finding out that Warner also had his memories erased, I guess. That's all we know so far. Okay, I also forgot to mention this, but this is really important. So when they captured Juliet, they also captured Aaron. We don't know where they are though. The book alternates between Kenji's POV and then we get either Aaron or Juliet every other chapter. But every time we get one of them, it's just like them having a flashback. Not Nazira telling Kenji that she can't be with him as she's kissing him. Who wouldn't want to be with Kenji? Kenji is the sweetest soul on the entire planet. I would be with you, Kenji. If I had the option and you were real, you would be my book boyfriend. Ooh, so we're finding out so much more about Aaron and Adam's dad now because it turns out that he purposefully pinned Adam and Aaron against each other. And like his plan was always to try and make Aaron stop falling in love with Juliet. And like for him it was an experiment. So the reason why he recruited Adam to be her cellmate was to try and like break the pattern basically. And everything that happened in the beginning was like specifically orchestrated for that reason. I'm pretty much giggling and kicking my feet right now because they're all talking to Aaron's grandfather, who has always like worked in the facility and has just been like around Aaron and Ella / Juliet their entire childhood. And he's talking about how like Aaron and Juliet had to have their memories constantly erased because they kept running into each other. Let me just read you this. He says, Paris, Aaron's father, has never told either of them about their shared history. The reason he had to keep wiping their memories was because it didn't matter how many times he reset the story or remade the introductions. Aaron always fell in love with her every time. Ah! God, I freaking knew it! I kind of suspected this was gonna happen. But Warner's dad just came back from the dead and shot his dad. So Warner's grandfather got shot by Warner's dad. I don't know why I had a feeling, and I was about to tell you guys this entire book. I'm like, I feel like he's not gonna end up being dead. I feel like something's gonna happen and he's gonna come back. Now she's like being tortured by her parents, I guess. And her dad like injected her. She was like dripping blood. And now her mom's talking about how her and Emily were her mom's greatest accomplishments. And she's like, well, if I keep you, I'm gonna have to like remake you from scratch. Essentially, she's gonna wipe her memories again, I guess. She does reveal something that I think is important though. She says that she was the one who isolated the gene that made everyone have powers, I think. And so she was the one who like made Emmeline and Ella the way they were. Oh no. So Anderson, Aaron's dad, is back. And he's like talking with Castle, and he says, who do you think called me here? Who do you think has been keeping me appraised of every single thing you've been discussing? I freeze, says Kenji. A horrible sick feeling gathers in my chest. We all turn as a group to face Nazira. She's standing apart from everyone else, the personification of calm, collected intensity. She has no expression on her face. She looks at me like I might be a wall. So I guess Nazira and Anderson were working together, and now someone injects Kenji with something and he's now passed out. Oh, so Warner's dad gave Aaron the initial assignment to like basically get Juliet to trust him, Ella to trust him. And so that's how this whole thing started. And he was also the one to put Adam in her life, and that's why they were in school together. So now I feel like we're kind of going backwards in time a little bit to where we're finding out a lot of the context of Ella's and Aaron's relationship, and it kind of makes sense now how he was so in love with her, because throughout this time he was always in love with her. He would always fall back in love with her, and I always thought that was a little weird and confusing in the beginning of the series, because it seems like it just kind of came out of nowhere, when in reality everything in their whole lives like built up to that. And so now everything is kind of clicking into place right now. Ugh, this is so sad. So Ella's having a flashback of like her and Aaron when they were kids, and she's had her memories wiped, so she can't remember her parents or anything. And I don't know what the context of this conversation was, but she's asking him about his birthday and when his birthday is, because he's never had a birthday party. And it says, slowly Aaron looks up at me. His face is blank even as he says April 24th. And his face is blank because he gets whipped on his birthday every year by his dad, which makes this flashback so sad. But then she says April 24th, I say, smiling. That's great, we can have cake. And just like the fact that she's probably the first person to ever celebrate his birthday. Ugh. We're now back in Juliet's POV, and her mom wiped her memories, but she still like remembers some stuff, and she's trying to like play it off so she doesn't give herself away. But I also don't know if she's like remembering everything right, because it seems like these are memories from like her past life. Well, thank God she still remembers Aaron. I thought she was gonna forget him. It says, Aaron Warner is the only emotional through line in my life that ever made sense. He's the only constant, the only steady, reliable heartbeat I've ever had. Aaron, 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 Aaron. Kenji's yelling at Nazira right now, hence the all caps. It turns out that she is still on their side. She's just pretending to be aligned with Warner's dad. What's his name? Anderson. And they're actually in Oceania so they can find Ella. And then right now Ella's pretending to like basically have her memories wiped, but she does remember everything. Oh, now Anderson just showed up where Aaron is being held. Aaron just made the dumbest decision I've ever seen him make in this whole series. So his dad comes back. He's like telling her, oh, Ella's had her memories wiped, like the girl you knew is gone, all this stuff. And he pulls out a letter opener that he just had, I guess. I don't even know where he got this from. Throws it at his dad, hits his neck. He's like spewing out blood. And then he takes the 2 guns that he has in his pockets and he walks away. Haven't you learned from the first time that you all tried to kill him and he survived, that I'm pretty sure stabbing him in the neck with a letter opener is not gonna kill this man? Clearly he's not that smart. So Ella's looking for a way out, escaping. She keeps hearing someone talking to her in her mind, like trying to help her get out and trying to steer her. And she ends up in a different laboratory where they're keeping Emmeline. And so that's who's actually talking to her in her mind. And all of a sudden she gets all these like memories. It's like a memory dump. And it's Emmeline basically giving them to her. She wants her to know all her memories and everything that she experienced. And so it says that she lost all her senses basically. And she's like barely a person. Like she goes blind, she doesn't have eyes, her tongue and teeth disintegrated, her vocal cords. Now she's trying to get Ella to kill her, because she just wants to be put out of her misery, I guess. She wants like all the kids of the commanders to get together and overthrow the parents. And so she's been trying to like contact them mentally, I guess. With one last tug, I rip her heart out of her body. Evie falls to the floor with a heavy thud, her eyes cold and glassy. I'm still holding my mother's heart, watching it die in my hands when a familiar voice calls out to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I have about 100 pages left of this book. I think I'm getting to the peak. Everyone's like breaking out. I think they're all being held in the same facility, so they're very close to each other. But Ella just killed her mother. Her sister is dead or almost dying, something like that. And Aaron just tried to kill his dad. Surprise, his dad is still alive, like I predicted. Currently it's Anderson, the dad, Ella's dad, and also Ibrahim, one of the other commanders that they're like trying to figure out what to do. Because everyone's breaking out, like Ella's gone, all of that's happening. Nazira just turned invisible and now she's trying to break Aaron out. I think she already broke Kenji out and Ella's about to run into Kenji. So everyone is like kind of all over the place. It's very chaotic. I'm actually gonna cry. So they hopped on a plane at LAX. Just kidding, but they did hop on a plane because they're escaping, and so everyone's reunited again. It's Nazira, Kenji, Aaron, and Ella. And Ella's like crying because she doesn't know if Aaron remembers her. And he's like, of course I remember you. And she's like profusely apologizing because they obviously left off on bad terms. Their relationship right now does kind of remind me of the Hunger Games though, when Peeta gets like his memories of Katniss wiped and rewired basically, and he has to like ask her what's fake and what's real. Like I feel like that's Juliet and Aaron right now. In a sense, it kind of feels like they trauma bonded, and this relationship is the result of that trauma bond, but they've also been in love with each other their entire life. So I guess it's fine. I realized then, in the moment that terrifies me, that I want this forever. I want to spend the rest of my life with her. I want to build a future with her. I want to grow old with her. I want to marry her. Okay, that in the context of everything that's currently going on sounds absolutely insane, but also I support you, Aaron. You go marry this girl and live your happily ever after, but first kill all these people that are trying to take over the world, and then you can marry your girl. He smiles. You know, I feel everything when you touch me, love. I can feel your excitement, your nervousness, your pleasure, and I love it, he says quietly. I love the way you respond to me. I love the way you want me. I feel it, and you lose yourself. The way you trust me when we're together, and I feel your love for me, he whispers. I feel it in my bones. I have loved you my entire life. Ella, he says, his voice rough with feeling. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. My heart stops. I said yes. And not Kenji saying that they couldn't wait to get back to base. He says, wow, you two seriously couldn't wait until we got back, huh? You couldn't spare my eyes. I feel like they completely forgot that he was even there. Okay, I'm very happy for Ella and Aaron right now, but I want to know what the heck happened to Adam and the brother, because we have not had any update whatsoever about them. Like, we don't know if they're on the base, we don't know if they stayed back, are they even like alive? Like, what happened to them? Some parts of this book are so unrealistic that they kind of drive me crazy a little bit. So they were on this plane trying to get to like their destination. People were trying to shoot their plane down. So they had to jump out of the plane, and like there's maybe like 1 page detailing how they do this. I don't know what I expected, but like it's just like not a realistic way of people jumping out of planes and surviving, even if they have powers. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, they just like coincidentally land, and then Castle just happens to be there and all the people that they were trying to reach. So everything somehow works out, but it just seems so massively unrealistic. The people they're with now are part of like a different resistance group, but they're still part of like the people protesting the reestablishment. So they're offering them shelter basically. This is a very important part of the story. So Ella is revealing why they're still keeping the sister alive, even though she's basically on the verge of dying. And this is like too much for me to explain, so I'm just gonna read you it. But she says, she's kept in captivity. She lives in a holding tank where she exists almost permanently underwater. Her brain waves are connected to tidal turbines that convert the kinetic energy in her mind into electricity. Evie, my mother, found a way to harness that electricity and project it outward all over the world. Emmeline is stronger than I've ever been or ever will be. She has the power to bend the minds of the people. She can warp and distort realities here everywhere. What you see here around us, the decay of society, the broken atmosphere, the birds gone from the sky, it's all an illusion. So they basically did all of this because they wanted to make people like not have hope and really see the world that way, is what they're saying. Because if people didn't have hope and were just like really accepting, then they're way easier for the reestablishment to take control of. And so that's what happened and why the world ended up being the way it was. And Ella is also saying that the reestablishment wanted her to take her sister's place after the sister passed away because she was already dying. And they needed like a backup plan basically to keep the illusion going. Well, I can definitely say my parental issues are not as severe as these people's. Why am I actually gonna cry? Oh my god. They threw Aaron a birthday party. Oh, I don't wanna cry, I don't wanna cry. Oh, it sounds sweet. So I finished this book. The book ends with them throwing Aaron a birthday party because he's never had a birthday party in his entire life. No, don't worry. I don't want to cry. This is sad. I literally said that this book is gonna make me just fall more and more in love with Aaron, and surprise, that's what happened. I do want to know what happened to Adam and the brother, because where are they? What happened to them? No one is even like concerned, no one has brought it up, no one has talked about them. Anyways, as you can tell, I have a lot of emotions right now. I'm so tired right now. It's the next day. I'm extremely exhausted. Why is there beeping? Who's beeping? It's so early. I'm extremely exhausted right now because I went to a concert last night. It was Hosier, hence my merch. And this is what I'll be wearing the entire day. But it was super fun. I had the best time. He sang like all the songs I wanted to hear. I stopped reading because I had to go to that last night, but I'm about to start the third and final book in the Shatter Me series, and I'm actually so sad because I don't want it to come to an end. You always get this feeling when you're at the end of the series and you're on the last book, like, you know, once it ends you're just gonna be like in a slump forever, or at least that's how it feels, and I'm not ready for that. It just sucks when you grow so attached to the characters and then they're not real people. You just feel like, okay, like, what do I do with the rest of my existence? Because nothing could possibly compare to this moment of like getting to the end of the series and like going on this like whole journey into a new world, a new fantasy realm. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna start it. We're learning what finally happened to Adam and James, which is something I talked about in the last book because no one seemed that concerned with them, but it seems like Anderson, Warner's dad, rounded up all the kids of the commanders. He basically tried to do that, except for the ones who are free. So he rounded up Adam, James, Lena, Valentina, and Nicholas. So there's like 5. And they're with Warner's dad right now. So I think eventually they're gonna try to get them back. So I'm 150 pages in. The book started with us finding out that all the children of the commanders are being talked to, like, mentally, by Emmeline, the sister, or Ella's sister. And she's trying to like get them to all bond together to overthrow the commanders still. And Ella is like experiencing the worst of it because Emmeline is sending like all these memories back to her that they had made her forget. And so it's basically overloading her brain essentially, but she's also sending her own memories. So now Ella has not only her memories, but also her sister's. And it seems like there's not enough space in her mind, I guess, to hold both memories. And so she's starting to forget things like about Aaron. She keeps calling him Warner, which is something she did in the beginning before she knew his full name. And like all these little key details that kind of start to slip. And she ends up falling into a coma. She's asleep for probably the first 100 pages of this book. And then when she wakes up, she's like disoriented. She can't speak to anyone, but she can hear everything that's going on. They also just got attacked by Anderson, who came to try and take Ella because they need Ella to replace her sister, since her sister is basically like the power source for the whole society. And without her, the illusion that they've kept up, the world is like falling apart, would crumble basically. And so they need Ella to take her sister's place. Aaron steps in and he's like, no, take me instead. But Anderson's like really insistent that the person they need is Ella. And yeah, so all of that's happening right now. It's like this whole big battle clash between them. And I think they're trying to get away. This is crazy. So they captured Juliet. Anderson was holding her hostage and told her that from now on, she's basically gonna belong to him. And so the next time we get her point of view, it's her being like Anderson's soldier kind of. So I think they wiped all her memories successfully because like she doesn't remember anything. She says she has no family, boyfriend, like nothing. So I don't think she remembers anything, which is so sad because Aaron's like back at base and he's just like not talking to anyone, like so sad that he lost her. I feel so bad for him because 1 book ago Ella baked him a cake and they were celebrating his birthday, and now she's gone, like the love of his life, after he asked her to marry him. We just found out right now that Adam bartered with his dad Anderson so that they could protect James, and in exchange he agreed to give them his power. So now they have his power, they can do whatever they want with it, which is not good news for everyone else. So Ella's getting some memories back. It says that she gets a flash of golden hair. She also just remembered the time she stole the notebook that she made into her diary. So she is like getting flashes of memories back. Oh my god. Anderson just made her cut off her own finger and put it in his hand. So we have some movement. Eren, Kenji, and Nazira are gonna go after Ella and try to rescue her. I feel like what's gonna happen in this book is that she's slowly gonna remember stuff again, because I think that was part of the cycle that they said would always happen. Basically, what they like said in the past books is that no matter what the scenario was or the situation, and no matter how many times they try to reset Ella's and Eren's minds, like they would always find each other again. They would always come back to each other and fall in love. It says, my thoughts are like wind rushing and curling into the depths of myself, expelling, dispelling darkness. I imagine love, I imagine wind, I imagine gold hair and green eyes and whispers laughter. I imagine me, extraordinary, unbroken. Now we have Emily trying to get back into Ella's mind, the sister. I think they're on the verge of trying to switch them out. We also just had Kenji, Nazira, and Eren on the plane, and when they entered like the area where Juliet is, commanders were alerted when they entered like their airspace, so they just took remote control of the plane, and now the three of them have to figure out how to get out of that situation. So the three of them made it into the facility, and they're looking for Ella right now, and I think Kenji just found her actually. Currently, Anderson and one of the other commanders are trying to hide her, and she realizes that she has friends, and then she hears Kenji whisper, "Hey, princess," in her ear. Tables are turning. The commanders are turning on each other. The other one pulls a gun on Anderson, and he's trying to take control of Ella and the situation. Oh shit. So I think Anderson just might have actually died, or is wounded heavily. He just got shot twice, so. And now Eren just killed the other commander, so both him and Anderson are dead. I probably shouldn't be laughing at this, but Eren's trying to like help Juliet because Anderson just told her to kill them all, and she doesn't recognize them right now. And Kenji's like, okay, we have to go, like we have to come up with a better plan. And Eren says, no, bro, I don't think you understand. I glance at Jay, who's stalking forward, eyes burning, the ground fissuring before her. She's really going to kill you. Then I will die. That's it. Warner's last words before he leaves. Wow, I did not expect to see Eren and Juliet fighting each other in this one. I wonder if he's just gonna like kiss her and then she's gonna remember everything. And Julia just looked at Eren for like the first time, and she's like taken aback by his looks, and she goes, "You are unusually beautiful." His eyes widen, his lips part, pressed together, tremble into a curve that surprises me, surprises him. He smiles, and I stare. Two dimples, straight teeth, shining eyes. A sudden, incomprehensible heat rushes across my skin, sets me aflame. I feel violently hot, sick with fever. Finally, he says, "So you are in there. Who? Ella." So even when she doesn't remember him, she's always still attracted to him. Okay, I didn't actually expect what I predicted to happen, but he's literally kissing her and making out with her right now. With one final effort, I rip the flashy mechanism from my arm, the last vestige of this monster. It drops from my shaking fingers, clatters to the floor, and this time when I look up, I see his face. Eren, I gasp. He drops to his knees. Kenji and all the other kids of the commanders just escaped from the facility, and it says, I watched the capital of Oceania, all 120 acres of it, go up in flames, and Warner and Juliet go with it. Now we have a change. This used to be crossed out and it used to say just Juliet, but now it says both because she remembers like everything. Now they're trying to help the sister kill herself basically, but Ella's dad comes in and tries to stop her, and Emmeline, the sister, just actually kill the dad. It says, Emmeline, who pulls her webbed hands free of the broken glass and presses her fingers to her father's head. She kills him with nothing more than the force of her own mind, the mind he gave her. Oh my god, we're on the last chapter. The epilogue is Eren and Ella getting married. I'm so excited. We're on the last page. It says, "To the world, she is formidable. To me, she is the world. When I hear her laugh, I am happy." And that's the end. So I just finished Imagine Me, which is the 6th and final book in the series. And I feel so sad. I'm happy, but I'm sad because I can never read this for the first time ever again. And that is probably one of the worst feelings in the entire world to have. But it was so good. I loved how the ending wasn't like too corny and too cheesy. Like, I liked the way it ended. I feel like usually the last book in a series is always a bit too much for me. Like, there's a little bit too much fluff at the end, but this one felt like it was the perfect ending to the series, so I really enjoyed it. Aaron and Ella Forever / Juliet, whatever her name is, I love this series. I love them. I ship them so much. And yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life now, but this was fun. It was so fun to film this. I'm kind of glad I made this a vlog, even though this is probably going to be an absolute bitch to edit because the last video that was like 58 minutes of footage. Hopefully this one is not as long. I know you guys would prefer to have more content, but for the sake of my sanity, I hope it's not as long as 58 minutes. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming back for part 2. This was so fun to film. Please let me know if there's like any other series out there that you'd want me to do reading vlogs to. Let me know, and I'd love to do more of these. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. If you want to follow my socials, I'll link them all below. Hey guys, I have no idea where the rest of that clip went, to be honest, but I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye!